Okay, before I do anything, I'm gonna warn you, I'm filming this with my camera or my phone flipped the other way. So I'm used to looking here for the camera. The camera's right here right now. So if I look over here, I'm trying to look at you. I'm not being rude, I'm trying to look at you. Um, but hi there, welcome back to the Calling for Orpheus Knitting Podcast. My name is Connor, and you can find me at Calling for Orpheus on both Instagram and Ravelry. And it's been a while. It's been a long time. It's October. I've got my jack-o'-lantern Halloween mug that I bought last year. I bought this last September, and I was thinking about it. It's so funny because I feel like things that happened earlier this year in like January through March feel like they were years ago. But last September, more than a year ago now, feels like it was yesterday. So it's so funny. But I also have on a seasonally appropriate shirt today because it's October 3rd and it's 80 degrees outside today. I know that in some places, even here in the States, in some places, it's really chilly already, but here it's not. It's not. And I also, my hair is, I don't know. I don't know what it's doing today. But that's kind of always how it is. I feel like every single time I come on and record a video, I'm like, oh, my hair looks weird. And it's like, it looks weird every day. So what are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do about it? But it's been a while. I was gone pretty much all of September because I had surgery in the middle of the month. It went fine. I'm fine. But I was not in the position to film. I thought it was going to be really minor, and it was not. It was really major. But I'm fine. I feel great. Everything went great. It was just rough. But I'm back, I think. Initially, I was going to try out like a new format instead of doing the podcast because I had tried recording this podcast twice, 2 or 3 times, I think. And like just in the normal podcast format. And every single time it felt so boring. It felt like such a drag. I was struggling. I was having a really hard time. And I think that was just because like I was getting behind a camera or in front of a camera for the first time in a month, and it felt really weird and unnatural. But there is also part of me, and I'm realizing right now that I've already forgotten to grab my finished objects. I'll do that in a second, it's fine. But I was thinking that I kind of get bored. Particularly with like the finished object segment, like I pull everything out and I give my spiel and tell you all of the things that I wish I could have just told you while I was working on them. And it's kind of annoying. And because of that, I want to try out a new format that's more of like it's not going to replace or get rid of the podcasts. I've already been recording for 3 minutes. Oops. It's not going to get rid of like the podcasts are still going to happen. I'm still going to record them, but it might be something that I switch up every now and again. But I want to record more like knitting diary, knitting vlog style videos where I show you what I'm making as I'm making them. And I actually started recording a video like that on Tuesday of this week, which was the first. And I was having fun recording, but I decided, it's not going to work because I wanted a video up this weekend. And I was like, I don't still think it's going to work for this weekend because with video creation, you kind of need like a narrative through line, even when it's just a video on YouTube where you're sitting down and talking to a camera. Like you need some kind of obvious beginning, middle, and end points that the viewer can follow. And because I was only going to be I was starting on, that's a leaf. I was starting on, sorry, my window is right here. It's also why you're getting glare in my glasses. I'm sorry. But I was starting on Tuesday, and I was going to probably finish recording on Friday, and I was like, that's just not enough time to show anything, really. So I didn't think that it was going to work for this week, but it is something that I want to do at some point, and it offers me a lot more flexibility with what I show, and it lets me tell you a lot more about each individual project, I feel like, without it being boring. And yeah, I think it'll just add some variety, but there's also some other plans for different kinds of videos that I want to put on the channel that I'm going to discuss at the end because I feel like like I'm already making this intro way too long by putting this at the beginning. Anyway, I needed to show you my finished object. There's 2 of them, technically. I guess there's more technically. I've been doing a lot of spinning, and I have some spinning FOs, but I don't really feel like showing them, to be honest with you. I don't really feel like it. So I'm just gonna pull out the spiders. So I'm gonna go do that. Here. Okay. Here they are. 2 sweaters. 2 of them. This one is just never gonna show up right on camera. I'm gonna start with the one that I finished first chronologically. Where's the hanger? Here it is. This is also part of why I'm wearing this today, so I can more easily try things on. And this is my Colleen sweater. Let me get it actually fully There you go. There it is. There's Colleen. So this is Colleen by Audrey Borrego. You can see it better here. There you go. I had started this. I can't remember when I started it. I think it was mid or late August, I think. Cannot remember exactly. I finished it, I believe, on the 9th or 10th of September. And this was my pre-op anxiety knitting. So, ooh, there's something stuck in it. Yuck. So, this was my pre-op anxiety knitting. So, like I said, I'd gotten surgery in the middle of the month. And leading up to it, I was knitting a lot. And I was wanting to do, like, really, really mindful, really engrossing knitting. And this is what really captivated me at the time, because it's color work, so you're really invested, you're really involved in what you're doing. It's not passive knitting, but it's super potato chippy, because you see you've got these, like, I'm blocking the camera so I literally can't see what I'm showing you, but you have these segments, these little segments of like 10 rows or so of actual color work, and then you switch to new motif pretty quickly, so it makes it very potato chippy, like you want to just keep going and going and going. And this was so good for me to be working on before that operation. I'm gonna try it on for you. So let's talk about, I guess I can tell you about the yarns first. I never know what order to talk about, like, the specs in. I knitted this out of the Fiber Studio at Yarns to Die For. I'll put it here. The Fiber Studio at Yarns to Die For Prime Alpaca. That's what the base is. It's kind of itchy. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's kind of itchy. But yeah, just look at how beautiful that is. Just look at that. My God. Just look at that. So pretty. The colors that I used are chocolate for the main color here, and fawn for the contrast color. They're more, I think they're maybe a little bit more vibrant in person, but I'm gonna try and show you, like, the texture of the fabric, because this is not pet hair. Like, you can see these little hairs. That is not pet hair. That's the texture of the alpaca yarn. So I do find it a little prickly, because the thing with alpaca is it's very soft, but adult alpacas are hairy. They have thick, coarse, curly hairs. And when you mill alpaca yarn, you get, coarse, hairy, kind of prickly yarn. I don't think that it's intolerable. It's not like mohair, where, like, I can't really wear mohair next to my skin at all. Like, I have this on my bare arms and my bare chest, and it's fine. It's kind of like my, like, rustic sweaters, where, like, it's not so itchy or uncomfortable that I can't wear it, but it's not something that I'm going to wear to, God, my hair is a mess. It's not something that I'm gonna wear to, like, lounge around the house in, it's not that comfortable. But it's fine. It's not uncomfortable. It's just not super soft and cozy. But yeah, here it is. I knitted it with about, the beginning of rounds in the back, so you might be able to see a jog there. But God, it's so pretty. I mean, just look at it. It's so beautiful. I knitted it with 7 inches of positive ease, and most of the positive ease is in the back. So it's like, here's what I look like. This is the ease in the back. This is where my back is. There's really not any ease in the front. Yeah, I gave myself 7 inches of positive ease. And I knitted, it's off gauge. So I knitted this off gauge because it's a sport weight yarn, and I used 4mm needles for most of the color work. And the pattern is designed for fingering weight yarn, and 3.25mm needles is what it's designed for. And I was just getting an extremely tight gauge of that, because I'm a pretty tight, I'm a very loose knitter most of the time. But when I'm doing color work, I actually work it, like, pretty tightly. It's just what I find most comfortable. It's how I find I get the most even, like, nice looking color work, because I work it tightly. Which people tell you that, like, tight color work is a no-no, that you shouldn't work it tightly. But in my opinion, it looks way better. Like, if you know how to manage the floats properly, tight floats are a bad thing. I think that's where people get confused. Tight floats are a bad thing. Tight stitches are beautiful in color work. I think tight stitches look the best in color work. You just have to make sure your floats aren't also too tight. But yes, I tend to knit my stitches. My floats are fine. My floats are beautiful. Oh, actually, you want to see the floats? Oh, look at the floats. Look at those. See, I swear I'm a good colorwork knitter. I swear. Look at it. Oh, just look at it. Anyway. um, my floats aren't tight. That's not the problem. It's my stitches are tight when I work colorwork. And my gauge was really, 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 really significantly tight. And so I switched all the way up to. I gradually went up needle sizes until I got to 4 millimeters, and that's what I worked the majority of the body, and that's what I worked the sleeves on. And I like it. I don't know, the gauge is off, but I like it. I knitted size 5. So because I was working off gauge, my glasses are smeared. Because I was working off gauge, the sizing was a little funny to make it work for me, but the yoke I did size 5, and the body I did a stitch count actually in between size 5 and size 4, because the way that Audrey grades the patterns, you can see that there's like, you know, different repeats of the chart. So for every size, the way that Audrey grades it is every size is different by an increment of 2 repeats of the chart. And that way, if you want an in-between size, you just knock off 1 repeat and you're fine. So the chart doesn't get interrupted at all. It still looks great. Yeah, that's what I did. I just knocked off 1 and got myself a stitch count in between 4 and 5. And yeah, I like it. I actually think that I could have gone with the 5 size for the body, because again, like, it's not a lot of these. I think it's a good fit, but I was actually going for like an oversized baggy fit, and that's not what I've achieved. It's not what I've achieved. And this is the thing, I did my gauge, I blocked the yoke, and I counted as a gauge swatch, including, like, I blocked it after I'd stopped increasing, and I had done a couple of rows, like, before the split. I think it was this row, like, this segment here. Blocked it, measured it from this point, and my gauge told me that I could make as low as, like, a size 4 or even a 3, and I was like, I made the 3 last time, and it was way too tight. It was tiny. It's not going to work. Even with a bigger yarn, it's not going to work. So I didn't listen to the gauge swatch. Well, gauge swatch, you know what I mean. I didn't listen to my blocked yoke. And I honestly think that I could have gone with, like, I aimed upward, but I think that I could have gone even farther and just gone with the full size 5 or even the size 6, for, again, because I wanted, like, a baggy look. But it was like 270 stitches, and I was like, that's ridiculous for my size. Because normally if I'm doing, and again, this is sport weight on 4mm needles. Normally, if I'm doing fingering weight on 3mm needles, my stitch count is going to be between 246 and 252 for a, like, loose, positive ease, slightly baggy sweater. And this is 2mm category 2 sport weight yarn on 4mm needles, and they were asking for like 260, 270, 280 stitches for some of these sizes. And I was like, what the hell? And actually, that would have worked for me. Now that I see the finished object, that would have worked for me. And if I do this in the future, I'm probably going to knit it on, like, worsted weight yarn. That's going to be uncomfortable. That's going to be way too hot. But I'm probably going, if I knit another one of these, because there's so many possibilities for this sweater. It's so gorgeous. And all you need is 2 colors, or we could do, like, a color changing yarn. I kind of want to knit one every year. Like I do with the Friday tee in the spring and the summer, I kind of want to knit one every year. But the sizing is weird. The gauge is really weird. The sizing is weird. The gauge is so tight on this pattern. And I don't want to work over 280 stitches in all over color work. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that, you know? So, whatever. I don't know. I like it. I like it. I'm glad that it's done. And I've already been talking way too long about this. But yeah, that's Colleen. And now I have one other sweater to show you that you've never seen before. I don't know if I've even mentioned it, but I'm going to put that on real quick. Okay. So this is Nebula. Actually, before I put it on, let me show it to you on the hanger so you can see kind of the full, because it has a drop hem, and it's, you can't see the back of the drop hem when it's on my body. So, here it is. Look at it. I really can't see what you're seeing, so I'm just hoping that you can see the sweater, and hopefully you can see the drop hem and whatnot. There it is. This is Nebula by Andrea Mowry. I cast this on... Oh, my smeared glasses are really bothering me. I cast this on... Let me check when I cast this on and clean my glasses, and I'll come back. But I did check when I cast this on, and I cast it on September 16th, and I bound off on the 24th, or the 27th, sorry, not the 24th, I'm sorry. Which means I finished this in 11 days, and it is therefore my second fastest completion of all time of a project, and my fastest completion without a deadline or without losing sleep. Because the first thing the fastest knit I've ever done was a cardigan I knit for a Hosier concert earlier this year, and I finished it in 4 days with a deadline because I realized it was going to be chilly that day and I didn't know that it would be. And I was like, oh, I should knit a cardigan. And I don't think I slept at all for those 100 hours, 96 hours. Yeah, 96 hours was 4 days, I think. I didn't sleep at all, and that was terrible. So this is the fastest. Like that doesn't count. I shouldn't hold myself to that standard. This is the fastest healthy knit I've completed. And I'm going to talk about the yarn first, I suppose. I knitted this in... I had extra skeins to show. Let me go get them. Okay. So these are the 2 yarns I used. I used Queen City Yarns Lotta. Hopefully you can see that there. You definitely can't. Can we maybe... Because I want you to be able to read the labels and everything. But my camera doesn't like... You know what I think it is? I think my camera is farsighted. I think if I stick it too close, it just won't... Oops. I think if I stick it too close, it just won't focus. Yeah, so I think I have to put it at like a medium range for it. But this is Queen City Yarns Lotta. I have a little bit more than this left. This is what the color is not showing up accurate at all. It's chartreuse. The color is chartreuse. It's showing up honey yellow on camera, and that is not the color that it is in reality. But I wound up 350 grams of this. I had this left. This is probably about 40 or 50 grams, and then I have 50 or 60 grams left from the big cake that I wound. So I've got about 100 grams of this left. And then I used Sheen Fiber Baby Teddy with it, which also doesn't look really accurate on screen. Well, this is right. This is correct. The color that it currently is right now is correct. This is Sheen Fiber's, I think their newest base, period. And it is silk and baby alpaca? Or just alpaca? I don't know. It's silk and alpaca, and it's a boucle yarn. So hopefully you can see it there. You can see the little... it doesn't really want to... It's hard to see on camera, but it's boucle. It's alpaca boucle. And they're these little teeny tiny, really fine, really thin loops, which I'll talk about. And overall, I think the fabric they create is wonderful. It's really bouncy. It's really drapey. It's warm, but it's not stifling. Like, it's not something that I feel like I can only wear. My hair is really bothering me. It's not something that I feel like I can only wear in the coldest weather. And it's really light. So for being... It's knit up at like an Aran weight gauge, basically. The pattern is written for the Farmer's Daughter Fibers Ojang DK, which is super fluffy. And so she knits it at an open gauge and lets the fluff kind of fill in the gaps. And so the actual gauge you get, I think it's 17 stitches and 4 inches. I got a bit big. I got 12 stitches and 4 inches, I think. Pulled it as a loose knitter. But even then, even 17 stitches is like, that is a worsted or even Aran gauge, I think. So here it is on. I love it. It's super light. Again, I think I've only used about 400 grams for this in total. And again, like for a worsted Aran weight sweater in my size, there's not much to say on the back. But for a worsted or Aran weight sweater in my size, 400 grams is not a lot. I really like it. It's nice and oversized. I think my chest measurement is about 38 inches, and the finished object circumference is just about 50, 51, maybe 52? Maybe it's 51. I don't know. It's about 50 inches, which gives me, God, my hair's bothering me. It gives me, what? 14, 12. Am I dumb? Hang on. How many inches is that? I think it's like 13 inches. Because 10 would be 48, 49, 50, 51. Yeah, it's 13. 13. I'm not dumb. So it gives me about 13 inches of positive ease. And I don't know. I like it. I think it's nice. It's so like here's where my body is, and here's where the sweater is, right? So you can see there, like it gives me some good ease. It's not so much ease that it's like weird and uncomfortable, or like it looks like it's too big for me, but it is a lot of ease. And I'm gonna have to take this off because it is. I told you it was not stiflingly hot, but it's also 80 degrees outside today. Let me just turn a fan on. And I don't think the color shows up that well on camera, unfortunately. I don't know. It's not what I wish it was on camera. Because in person, it is the most beautiful, like, bright, limey, pickly green color. And on camera, it just looks yellow and meh. Not that I don't like yellow, but I don't think that this yellow looks very nice on camera. So, that's Nebula. And let's talk about the yarn. Because I have a lot of shit to say about this yarn. Oops, sorry. I have a lot to say about this yarn. I'll talk about the baby teddy first, maybe? Because there's some interesting things to say about this. So again, like I said, this is Ching Fiber's newest base. Take a look at that. It's really wonderful in a lot of ways. It's very soft. It creates a really interesting texture to the fabric. It almost looks like pre-felted, almost. If you can kind of see that. It creates a really interesting texture. It's not hairy and fuzzy the way that like Surrey or mohair are, and I've already been talking for 25 minutes almost. It's not hairy, so I like that it's not hairy, but it adds like, a little bit of halo and a little bit of fluff. It's great texture. It's extremely soft. It's not very fun to knit with, to be honest with you, because of these little loops. Okay, so I just had to cut somewhere because I inhaled fluff. And I have no idea where I had to cut because Android sucks with video editing. So I haven't cut it out yet, and I'm gonna cut it out when I edit the video. So I have no idea where I had to cut, but I just had to cut somewhere, which means I have no idea where I left off and what I need to say. I have no idea what I'm missing at this point, unfortunately. But I guess I'll just resume with the baby teddy discussion. Let's see. I think that I probably was at the point trying to say it's a beautiful soft yarn. It results in a gorgeous fabric. Love the colors. This is the colorway Clash. I don't remember if it really doesn't look right on screen. That's right. This is right. That is not. Color theory is funny. Anyway. Here it is. Here's Clash. Beautiful, beautiful, not very good, tonal green color. Really stunning. Extremely soft. Results in a beautiful fabric. Not fun to knit with because of the little loops. And it's actually worse, I think, to knit with than most boucle yarns because it has the sticky texture of like a mohair. It's sticky. It sticks to itself. It sucks. It doesn't suck. It's great, but it sucks to knit with. It's really not fun. The process sucks. It sticks to itself, and it has these really wispy little loops. It's super easy to get your needle stuck into and then rip. Not fun. But it does create a beautiful fabric. So I would say that I do not recommend this yarn for a beginner or like an inexperienced, unconfident knitter. I wouldn't recommend this yarn. But if you're willing to deal with the challenge of something that is simultaneously extremely sticky and has the feeling of being extremely splitty, it creates a nice fabric. I think that it's worth the struggle for the fabric. And this took 3 weeks. Not 3 days, 21. It took 22 days. A little over 3 weeks, technically. And I think a big part of that reason is because of the carrier that they use. So instead of just shipping through Royal Mail, they send it to Frankfurt. They send your shit to Germany. They send it to Germany. Like, why? I don't know why. And listen, right? I'm sure there's a reason for it. I'm sure there's a perfectly good, perfectly sound, perfectly logical explanation for why they do it that way. But if you don't live in England or the UK, they literally send it to Frankfurt, Germany, and then DHL carries it from Frankfurt, Germany to wherever you are. So for me, it actually had to go farther away before it came to me. And the other thing is, DHL does not operate on weekends. At least not when they're on land. They just don't operate from Friday to Monday, or from, yeah, I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They just don't operate. They literally just don't. They don't move. Which is fine. Take your days off. That's great. But it really added up to a lot of extra time when my package was just not moving. And the shipping updates were deeply insufficient, super vague, very infrequent. I had no idea when it was coming. I had no idea where it was at any given time. I only knew when it was in Frankfurt, and then when it had arrived in the United States. And even then, when it had arrived, I was like, I don't know what state it's in. Like, I just know that it's here. I don't know where it is, though. So that was really frustrating. But now that I know and I was not told that. Like, the website doesn't give you the scope. Like, they tell you, oh yeah, we ship through DHL, we ship through Deutsche Post. And I was like, okay, Deutsche Post, that means it's a German carrier, obviously. But I didn't think they were going to send it to Germany first. Like, that's crazy, right? Is that not crazy? So they sent my package to Germany. And I also didn't get any notification of where it was until it landed in Germany. So I ordered it, and it was a good, like, I think it was like 7 business days. So, like, a week and 2 days, something like that, a week and 4 days. Or a week and 3 days, 2 or 3 days. And I hadn't gotten any notification that it had even shipped yet. And when you get that notification that says, oh, your package is shipped, what that actually means is the shipping label's been created. That's what I mean. That's all that means. It doesn't mean it's in transit yet. It doesn't mean it's moving. It just means the shipping label was printed. I didn't even get that for the first week. But on their website, it said that you should allow at least 7 business, or at least, I think it was either 5 to 6 or 5 to 7 business days before your order ships. And, like, particularly out, like, around a drop, and I had ordered around a drop. And so, I waited, I was patient, and then I emailed them after that window, because I was like, I haven't heard anything, and I'm just a little nervous. I just want to make sure everything's okay. Like, no rush, I get it, but I just want to make sure everything's all right. And I got a robo email back that was like, oh, here's your shipping information. And I was like, why does it say it's in Frankfurt? And that makes sense, right? Because Qing Fiber didn't have any shipping information to show me until it got to Frankfurt, until it got to Germany, because it was being tracked via the German carrier, not via Royal Mail. So, like, it makes sense, but it's annoying, So it's beautiful yarn. It's really wonderful yarn. I love Qing Fiber's colors, but I don't see myself buying from them super often, mostly because of the shipping experience. And of course, the yarn got to me. It did get to me, and it got to me in perfectly good condition. And they sent me some fun stitch markers. It was great, technically. It was just kind of an anxiety-filled shipping experience that I felt the need to warn you about. Because, like, I was not warned by any of the people who had purchased Qing Fiber's yarn on Knitting Podcast. They didn't mention it, so I didn't know that was going to happen. And so if you're a fellow American, be prepared that, like, it's going to take a while, and you're not going to know where the hell your yarn is until it arrives to you, basically. But it's beautiful yarn. Like, I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm just saying keep that in mind. Know what to expect. Then my second yarn experience was also similarly like, I have some things to criticize. I like the yarn, technically, but, like, there are some things that I'm not super happy with that I need to mention. Okay, so like I said, I used Queen City Yarns Lotta. Again, I'm going to show you a kind of a medium range so that I could actually focus on the label. And I bought the Lotta Super Skein. Oh yeah, you really can't focus when I get too close. I used the Lotta Super Skein, which is a 400-gram skein put-up. But it's as far as I'm aware, it's the same yarn as if you got it in the 100-gram skeins. Like, whether you get the 400-gram Super Skein or the 100-gram Classic Skein, it's the same base as far as I'm aware. And it is labeled, as you just read, 100% non-superwash Merino Rambouillet. I don't think that's true. First of all, look at the yarn. Look at it. And again, the color is wrong on screen, but like, just look at the yarn. Look at how smooth it is. No halo, no tooth, perfectly smooth. It's extremely soft. Again, zero tooth, zero halo. It is smooth, soft, looks superwash. It feels superwash. It is bouncy. It's actually kind of hard to see, honestly, in this game, like just how much bounce factor it has. But trust me, this is such a like stretchy, squishy, excuse me, yarn in the way that non-superwash yarn does not tend to be. And I saw all these things, and I was like, it's probably just a really nice non-superwash. It's probably just really soft and nice. It's non-superwash. It's labeled non-superwash, so it must be non-superwash. So I can assume it's going to behave like a non-superwash yarn. Really, I really regret not blocking the swatch that I did for this. And actually, I have a what I'm calling the Giga swatch to show you, because I'm planning on working, or I'm not planning on. I've already started working with more superwash yarn for another sweater, and I was like, I'm not dealing with this again. No way. I didn't block the swatch. Measured the swatch. The gauge was big but fine, usable. So I just made it a size down. I needed a size 2 to get the measurements of roughly a size 3. And then I blocked the sweater. So let me show you a picture. I regrettably, I really wish I'd taken pictures of it post blocking before I'd fixed it, because it was ridiculous. It was so big. But here's a picture of it right when I'd finished it. Here's a picture of that. So you can see, like, it's not tight, but it's like, it's not too big. Certainly, it's not. When I tell you that after I blocked this, after I pulled it out of the water, gave it a stretch. I didn't stretch it out. I didn't stretch it. I didn't wring it. I didn't do anything crazy to it. I didn't, like, I squeezed it while it was down in the water. I didn't, like, pull it and let it drag. I didn't. I was very careful with it. I was, because I didn't want it to get crazy huge. The measurements of it, when I'd first finished the sweater, were, I think, like, between 48 and 50 inches in circumference. And I didn't measure the circumference exactly when it was done, but I did measure the length, and the length was 23 inches, I think, from, like, measured from the back, excluding the neckband. So it was measured under the neckband at the back, down to the very bottom, including the bottom ribbon, at the lowest point, at the lowest dip point at the bottom, was, I think, 23 inches, and I'm 5'2". I'm little. When I blocked this thing, it grew to a circumference of 60 inches. 60. My chest is 38. Technically, that fits within the parameters of the gauge suggested in the pattern, but the problem is, it also grew in length by about 2 inches, which I know doesn't sound like a lot. It grew to 25 inches, which I know doesn't sound like a lot. But those extra inches, plus that extra width, when I put my arms down, it all just sagged. And it was at the point, the lowest point of the bottom hem was literally halfway down my thigh. It was ridiculous. It was like, it literally looked like a sweater for somebody who was 50 pounds heavier and a foot taller than me. It was like, I can't wear this. I cannot justify wearing this. This is insane. And I was going through my head, I was like, okay, here are all the things that I can do to fix this. I could do sweater surgery. Do I want to? No, it's bottom up. I don't want to, but I can. I could do sweater surgery. I could just pick up at the bottom there and just, I could tear out all of the bottom, all of those short rows, and just add either a couple of short rows to just do a little bit of a drop hem, or just do the ribbon and just have it be like a cropped length, but with all that extra width. It was gonna sag down to an appropriate length anyway. I could do that. Or I was thinking I could just reknit it. It only took me 11 days, a week and a half, not a long time. I could just start over. I could just unravel the whole thing and reknit it. But then I had like a light bulb moment, and I remembered a sweater that I had knit in January of this year, in late December last year, early January this year, that I had knit out of Hobie Happy Place, which is a yarn that I do not like. I don't think it's a bad yarn, but it's not a yarn that I like. And this is part of why it grew ridiculously. Not actually, not this much, not 10 inches, but it grew like 7 inches in circumference and 7 inches in height. So like a lot, like a lot. Like this grew a total of 12 inches, right? If you consider how much it grew in circumference plus how much I considered it grew in height. 12 inches, that was 14. Technically, it grew more. Technically, it grew a lot. And I put that in the dryer because Tony Lipsy was the collaborator on that yarn. She had said in a live stream that you could put the yarn in the dryer occasionally if you needed to. That it shouldn't get destroyed by an occasional stint in the dryer. And so I put it in the dryer for probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and it shrunk up exactly to the size that I had knit it to. So I didn't gain any size from blocking it. It was like the blocking was reversed. But it was fine. It was okay. And I was like, okay, maybe because it's acting like superwash, so it shouldn't get destroyed in the dryer if it's acting like superwash. And I did. I threw it in the dryer. However, caveat, do not take this as permission to put your knits in the dryer for 45 minutes. Don't do that. Never do that, please. I'm begging you. Unless you actually want to fry your yarn, like literally fry it like chicken. Don't do that ever. However, like don't even do that to felt it. Like that'll just fry the yarn. Don't do that. However, if you want to put it in for a little bit, it's fine. And what I ended up doing was 1 minute intervals. So I put it in for 3 1-minute intervals. I pop it in for 1 minute, and I use the timer on my phone, not the timer on the dryer because that thing is not accurate. Timer on my phone, 1 minute intervals. I did 2 1-minute stints on medium heat, and then 1 1-minute stint on low heat with the dryer still hot inside. And that got me to the size that I have now, and it didn't ruin the yarn. It's still just as soft as it was when I finished it. I almost feel like it's not quite as soft as it was when I first blocked it. So I think that it maybe lost a little bit of softness, but like, I mean, look at it. Look at the fabric. It's fine. Like, it's completely fine. It is not felted. It has that look because of the boucle yarn. It's what it looks like. Not felted. This color is so gross looking on screen. I promise, it's the most beautiful, like, pickly, fantastic limey green in person, but it didn't felt. It did not felt. No frying, nothing. It looks perfect. It looks literally perfect. So this is superwash yarn for all intents and purposes. And like, quite frankly, this might sound weird, but quite frankly, I don't care if it wasn't superwash treated. Frankly, I don't care. Like, it acts exactly like superwash yarn, and that's what I think is important for the maker. It's not, the important thing is not whether it's been treated, it's how it actually acts. Because like I've used so many superwash sock yarns that do not grow. They don't grow. They just don't. And I don't know if it's the like level of superwash treating, if it's the kind of treating, if it's just the fineness of the yarn. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the nylon content. I don't know what it is that prevents those from growing a lot. But in my experience, superwash sock yarns, they relax. They don't grow. This grew like a commercial superwash yarn. Like 10 inches in width is actually ridiculous. Like even for superwash yarn, that's so much. And I understand it's a big sweater. It's not heavy, but it has a lot of surface area the water can get into and drag everything out. I understand that. But 10 inches is genuinely absurd. For something labeled non-superwash, that is guano insane. That's crazy. So I'm gonna tell you right now, this is genuinely extremely beautiful, wonderful yarn. It's so pretty, it's so soft, it feels amazing, it is just luxurious. Like you touch it, you can just feel the lanolin coming off like it's lotion. It's wonderful. But it's superwash. It's got to be. I mean, and even if it's not superwash, again, even if it's not been superwash treated, it walks like superwash and it quacks like superwash. So it might as well be superwash. And if you don't like superwash yarn, I would avoid this because it acts like superwash. And you get all of the best things about superwash yarn. Again, it's extremely smooth, extremely soft, it's really bouncy, it's wonderful in all of those ways. But you also get the worst thing about superwash yarn, which is the absolutely bonkers amounts of stretch. And I'm nervous about this sweater now because I don't know what to do about washing it in the future to minimize any more growth. I think I could stand to like gain 1 or 2 inches on this. Not 10. Not 10. Never again. That can't happen again. And I don't want to put this in the dryer repeatedly. I don't want to. Even if it's only for 3 minutes at a time, I don't want to have to keep doing that. Because it could fry the yarn eventually. So I'm thinking what I'm probably going to do is like spot clean it and get the underarms, because even the underarm, the actual like underarm on the sweater is like here, and my underarm is here. So it's probably not going to get super yucky super easily. But like if it does, I can just literally just take the underarm of the sweater and put it under the tap and scrub it up, and not have a problem. Because like, what's the underarm gonna do? Stretch? It's fine. It's the underarm. Like it's not a big deal to me. It's just submerging the whole thing is a problem. And then I think to get rid of any like residual skin cells, I'll probably flip her inside out, get a washcloth, saturate it with some cold water and wool wash, and just dab the inside of that fabric to get some water in there, get some soap in there, help to clean it up, but not saturate it with water. I think that's what I'm gonna do for just like regular maintenance cleaning. But I do think it's going to need to get like soaked and cleaned again eventually. And I'm really nervous. I've never been able to unshrink anything that I've shrunk. And I have shrunken this technically, but I'm still nervous. And so if you have advice, please let me know about caring for superwash yarns like this. Because this is not superwash. This I can't just throw in the machine every single time and expect it to be fine. I can't. And even this, I don't, because it's so full of lanolin, I don't want to put it in a high temperature dryer. Because like, it literally will fry the yarn. It's like, I don't do this because I don't have enough hair to, but like people who use heat on their hair all the time and just fry it, you're literally frying it. You're literally taking oil plus thing plus heat and literally frying it. So that's what happens with the yarn, like with wool yarns, is they have that lanolin and the heat literally it fries the yarn. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to risk doing that. So if you have advice for me for caring for this long term without putting it in the dryer all the time or ever again, let me know. I would appreciate it and love you forever. Parasocially. So that's the end of my finished objects. That took forever. It's been like 40 minutes. Oh my god, it's been like 40 minutes. I'm gonna need to edit the absolute shit out of this video. But let's move on to our whips, because I feel like I probably have less to say about those. Where do I start? Let's start with this one. This is kind of interesting. So in my last podcast episode, I'm actually going to work on this while I talk. In my last podcast episode, I had finished my splatter sweater. It's a little crocheted sweater. I don't think I took any pictures of it, so I'm probably not going to have anything to put up here. But it was just a little crocheted sweater that I had done in variegated yarn. And I loved the concept, but once it was done, I was kind of like, what about it? I didn't love how it fit. Like, the body was slimmer than I wanted it to be. It was longer than I wanted it to be, so I didn't get to add ribbing on the bottom. The sleeves were too long. I was just not crazy about it, you know? And so, the day that I had posted that video, my friend Stephanie, who is also both a knitter and a crocheter, she had texted me asking about the pattern. And I told her, you know, I just don't feel like I'm confident enough as a crocheter to write and release a pattern for a sweater. But it's such a simple pattern. Like, I'm sure you could find a very similar one on Ravelry and just add some knitted ribbing, and you know, you'd be golden. You'd be fine. And I left it at that until a few days later. I was checking the comments on that video, and I had seen that at least one other person, if not a couple of other people, had also asked for the pattern. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know, I'm not really happy with the splatter sweater as it exists. I would kind of like to redo it. And it's not a hard design. It's not difficult. It's nothing crazy. There aren't even any short rows in it. Like, it's just like a rectangle with some shaping. Like, it's like, well, with some like decrease shaping. Like, it's not a big deal. It's fine. I could probably write a pattern for that. And I decided to kill two birds with one stone, like I said, and restart the sweater while simultaneously rewriting an improved, corrected pattern for the design, and that's what I've done, and that's what I have right here. Let me pop my stitch folder on, or my stopper on, and show you. So I have restarted my splatter sweater. Here it is. You can see I've done it in the round this time, for one, and I did that because I just think working in the round is usually just more enjoyable, period. There's less stuff to manage. seaming is not anybody's favorite. I didn't think that the seams on my splatter sweater looked clean or nice at all, and seaming caused me to lose width, so I got a fit that I didn't like. And the other thing is, I've actually started from the knitted ribbing. So I cast on at the bottom with the knitted ribbing, knit up the ribbing, and then what you do in the pattern is you bind off the ribbing using a standard bind off, and then across that standard bind off, you crochet into the little chains that you create with that bind off, and you work some decreases because you have to use way more knit stitches than crochet stitches to get the same circumference, just because of how knitting and crochet work. But yeah, I've already tested it twice. This is my second attempt. The first attempt was with colors I didn't like, so I know that it works. And yeah, here it is so far. And it's just gonna be the same idea. I mean, it's gonna be tweaked a little bit. I'm running out of tea. It's gonna be tweaked, of course, but it's the same idea, really. Bottom up, drop shoulder crochet sweater. It's simple. It's designed again to be knit in variegated or crocheted in variegated yarn, and I'm designing it despite the fact that it requires you to know how to knit and crochet, which is inherently a little tricky. I'm designing the pattern so that it would be workable by a beginner as like your first crochet sweater. So I'm planning on getting testers for that. Once my sample is done and the pattern is done, I'm gonna call for testers. Give them probably a week to apply, maybe even 2 weeks if I'm not getting a lot of applications. I'll probably, allot some time for them to apply, and then I'm not picking my nose, Mitchy. And then give them 6 weeks. If they need more than 6 weeks, I'll give them as much more time as they need, up to probably about 12 weeks is when I'll cap it and be like, all right, if you're not done by now, we gotta pack it in, we're done. Yeah, it'll probably, excuse me, geez, it'll probably be out, the pattern itself will probably be done in the winter time. My copy, the like beta tester copy, and my sample will probably be done this fall, to give you an idea. So it's not like the highest priority project for me right now. I'm trying not to like stress myself out with the designing, because it really is just a hobby for me. Like, I'm a full-time student. I don't have time to be like doing this constantly, like to like make this my life. I just don't. But it'll be out eventually. It'll be out eventually. And yeah. The unisex, size inclusive, I think goes all the way up to like an 80-inch bust. So, yeah. The next thing is also a design. Where is it? Oopsie daisy. What have I done? I've missed things. Okay, here it is. The next thing that I've got is also a design, but this one's just knitted. Where is the front? Where is the front? Where is the back? Alright, this is the front. Oh, these are my needles that have a kink in them, so it's going to be hard to show you anyway. Whatever, it's fine. So this is not the design. So this is a sweater that I'm calling Kindred. It's another like really basic, beginner-friendly kind of design. I'm writing the pattern I'm even recording video tutorials to show you how to do certain techniques, which I also did with this one, just to show like complex or unusual techniques, or techniques that I use techniques that I use like uncommon terminology for. So it's not supposed to have like a mock neck. When it blocks, it'll relax into more of like this shape, I think. But yeah, it's got a double folded collar that I knit using Judy's Magic cast on. No, Turkish cast on? Doesn't matter. They're the same thing, aren't they? Whatever. I did the cast on where you cast on 2 needles, so you get double sets of stitches. And then I put the bottom set on stitch holder, work up, fold it over, or purl the 2 sides together, which is also kind of funky. So I have a whole tutorial that I've recorded for that, because it's a very funky process, but it's not hard. It's just weird. And then it has wedge style increases, but they are worked staggered, so they don't sit right on top of each other. So like you can't really make out a clear line of increases here. It's a speckled yarn, so. But yeah, it's really simple. Circular yoke, basic. It's supposed to have like kind of not a super baggy design, like kind of a standard fit. Not like a super relaxed baggy fit. Why am I so itchy? Not a super relaxed baggy fit, but not a tight fit, not negative ease, not fit edge necessarily. And this similarly, I'm just working at it at my own pace. I'll call for testers when I'm done with the pattern, when I'm done with my sample, and I'll give them probably more time than I give the crochet testers, because knitting takes longer. It's finger weight yarn, 3mm needles. Oh, I didn't mention the yarn that I was using for this. This is Hedgehog Fiber Sock. The colorway is Celestial. The contrast yarn for the ribbing here is Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Dusty Dove Blue. And this yarn right here is Passion Yarn. It's a local yarn dyer. Passionate Yarns Cherish is the base. It's an MCN. Yes, it's an MCN. And the colorway is My Heart Beats Your Name. There it is. Okay, then we have my... This was a very impromptu cast on. This I am calling my Felix-ish, because that's what it is. It's a Felix pullover, kind of. So I'm not following the pattern just because I wouldn't benefit from that. It's knitted at a completely different gauge. It has a different silhouette, and I just wouldn't benefit from using the pattern. But I'm stealing the main motif from Felix, which is this like fern style eyelet increase. Look at that. Look at how pretty that is. I'm not a lace person. Lace is much too frilly for me generally, but I actually do like simple eyelets like this a lot. I think they look really nice. They're really unique, interesting, but not too frilly. I don't think that this is quite... I mean, it's all bunched up on the needle, so I don't know how... Yeah, it's not going to show you very much, but you can kind of see how the color looks on me, and you can kind of see how the eyelets are going to look. I think they're really nice. And so there's things that I don't like about raglans. I think I've said on my channel before that I don't like raglans, which is not... Oh, my hair is bothering me so much. Is not true or untrue. I don't like how they look on me normally. I just don't think that they flatter me very much. But I like how they look. You know what I mean? I just don't think they flatter me very much. Because they create this, minimizing effect. They make your arms look weird. I think for me, they make my chest look really tiny, and my arms look really big. And then when you get down to it, when you finish all of the increases and you're just knitting stockinette, I think because you don't have this seam anymore, I think it creates a pear effect, which is not flattering for me at all. Not a fan of how those raglans tend to look on me, but this I like, because I think that the eyelets they're different. I don't know, it's something so different. I don't think that it creates the same effect. And I've done the math to set them super wide. I've set them here, or even out here. I think when it's actually on my body, I think the eyelets are here. And I did that so that I can increase on every other round evenly across both the body and the sleeves without getting really big sleeves and a really narrow body, that effect that I don't like. And I think it actually looks really good on me. I've tried it on, I've tried it on tubing and actually tried it on properly, and I think it looks great, and I love it. And the yarn that I'm using is Knitting for Olive Merino in the colorway Lavender Blue, held with Knitting for Olive compatible cashmere in the colorway Dusty Dove Blue. So in person, ooh, this looks weird on camera. It is having a hard time capturing that color. In person, it's a soft, hazy lavender color. It's periwinkle. It's periwinkle is the color that it is. It's a little bit too blue to really be lavender. I would call it periwinkle. It's soft, hazy. It's a little grayed out because of the gray. And on the video, it looks super vibrant. It is not it's similar, but definitely more muted in person. And when you look up close, I don't know if it's going to show on camera at all, but when you look up close in person, the bits of gray are very obvious next to the really vibrant purple. It's interesting. I don't know. It's an interesting fabric. It's really soft. That's it. It was a totally impromptu cast on, just because I wanted to knit something. I don't know. Not that I'm not knitting things, but I wanted to knit a personal thing that wasn't a design. It was really kind of mindless and easy and uncomplicated, and that's been great. And then the last whip I have is the opposite of that. It is, oh god, my hair. It is still a personal design. What is going on with me today? Jesus Christ. It's still a personal design, or it's still not a personal design. I'm following a pattern for this, but it is complicated. And I've only just started it. Where is this? I think I'm at the front right now. And that is the Halibut sweater by Caitlin Hunter. Or I think it's Caitlin Hunter. It's Boylan Knitworks. Here it is. I am knitting for the neckline. She gives you 3 neckline options. I chose for a height that was right in between the crew, which is only an inch, and the funnel or the mock neck, which is like 4.5 inches. Oh, this is hard to get over my head because I cast on really tightly. Okay. um, God, my hair is bothering me. But yeah, here it is. Here it is. I think it's really pretty. I love, look at that crisp color work. I love the colors on me. I think it's nice. I think it's nice. I'm distracted by my terrible hair. I don't know what it's doing today. Um, yeah, I think it's really nice. This is what I need the Giga Swatch for. Where's the Giga Swatch? Here it is. Here it is. Let me take this off. So the reason why I cast this on so tight, also, you can see me struggling, is because I did a tubular cast on for this pretty loosely. I just think that my tubular cast on, it's getting messy. I don't know. I'm getting really loose with it, and I think it just looks ugly. Like, I might as well just do a long tail cast on. I don't think it looks good at all. And so for this, I did a really tight one, which I think looks really nice, though it is a little hard to get over my head. But this is knit in Sandusgarn Smart. 2 colors. They only have numbers. It's 7 something and 6 something. I don't know. They're numbers. I'll put them on screen. But it's Sandusgarn Smart, which is a 100% superwash wool yarn. And because I didn't want to have the same fiasco happen to me with my Nebula, and have, you know, knit the sweater to size 2 or 3, or even 4, and then have it grow to be 70 inches, I was like, let me do a nice big swatch and actually block it. So here's my Giga Swatch. It doesn't look that big on camera. It doesn't look that big on camera, but it feels really big for a swatch. So this is, oh, and the other thing is it's in the round, which is why it was like such a big feeling swatch. This is so big, I can wear it as a cowl. It's not a very nice cowl, but it's a cowl, it works. This swatch is 24 inches in circumference. When I knitted it, it was 22. God, my hair looks so flat. When I knitted it, it was 22 inches in circumference, and 6 inches in height, I think. And then I blocked it and like I didn't pin it aggressively, I just pinned it to be straight, and it grew to 24 inches and 7 inches in height. And so I did the math, and I figured out like how much the length grew, because how much the length grew from my original count by in person. Like, fuck. I calculated what percentage the length grew from my original gauge, so that I knew how, like, when to stop knitting when I was knitting the actual sweater. And then I calculated the width, how different my width was from the pattern. And also the height from the pattern, just for the color work, but like when the body is bodying, it'll just be my gauge, doesn't matter. Anyway. And I figured out, the gauge for this is like, I'm like 25% bigger in width than the pattern says to be. And I did this on 3.75 millimeter needles. It felt so tight. And it's still 25% bigger once blocked. So when I knit a certain size, it's going to be 25% bigger than the pattern says it's going to be. So I did the math, and I calculated that the size 1 is going to be the best for me. It'll be 47 inches. It'll hopefully be about 47 inches in circumference, probably a little bit more, just because, like, even though I think this is enough, you know, space and size for it to grow accurately, I still think that a big, like a full-size sweater, I still think it's going to grow a little more. So it'll give me about 9, 10 inches, maybe a little bit more of positive ease, which is perfect. So yeah. This is Halibut by Caitlin Hunter. I will say, the other thing is, there are some really long floats in this pattern, like really long. I think the longest float in the pattern is like 17 stitches or something like that, which is crazy. That's a lot, you know? And I mean, sometimes it's what you gotta do, right? Sometimes it's just what the pattern looks like, you know? And there's no other option, you know? But it's a lot. And typically, like, it's a really popular pattern. And typically, like, really, really popular colorwork patterns don't have massive floats like that. Always, at least like from what I've found, is people tend not to like those. They're not my favorite, but I do think that the design is really pretty. It's super funny. I love it, and it's fun to knit. Again, the long floats are like kind of blah, but I don't think that they ruin the experience necessarily. So yeah, those are all of my whips. I do have some spinning whips, but they're gift spins right now, so I can't show you. Ooh, what I can show you is this. Pow! Look at that. Look at how much better I'm getting at spinning. Wow. Wait, this is actually a really thick strand. Can I find you a thinner one? Look at how much better I'm getting. Whoa, wow, this is the hedgehog fibers. Oops. Hedgehog fibers is selling spinning fiber. Look at that. Wow, this is their tweed base. Super cool. That's all I wanted to show you. There we go. And that's it for whips. Now I can move on to acquisitions and plans. I don't really have any acquisitions. I have one. I have this one. Pow! Also from Ching Fiber. This is their regular teddy base, and I think it's going to be much more enjoyable to knit than the baby teddy, because look at it. Look at how different that strand looks. Super different. I want to knit a, Frame Your Face Cowl by Andrea Mowry. Let me find my yarn. So I'm either going to do this. So this is the merino and the compatible cashmere with the teddy. There we go. Or I'm going to alternate. And I'm going to have... Oh, these are both navy blue, is the colorway. Or I'm going to alternate colors. I've done something dreadfully wrong. Fresh skein. Or I'm going to alternate and do, you know, like one pass will have this as the contrast color, and then the next pass will have this as the contrast color. So it alternates. I don't want to do just this, but I don't think I have enough yarn to do just this. So I think I'm going to maybe do that. This is the colorway Chiozuru, by the way. I'll put it on screen, so I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just thought it was pretty. I just bought it for fun. I bought it with the baby teddy. They weren't meant to go together, but I just bought it for fun. There was actually one other thing that I want to talk about, and that was I kind of want to do like educational kind of videos on this channel. They're not going to be like scatterbrained and random like this video is. They're not. I swear. But I am kind of interested in doing a segment similar to what Andrea Mowry does on her podcast, which is called I'll Knit If I Want To. It's great. I love it. And what the whole podcast is just her answering viewer questions the entire time. It's great. It's just her answering craft questions, technique questions. She does knitting, sewing, spinning. Sometimes she talks about baking. And she just answers viewer questions. And I feel like that would be so much fun. Because every time I watch it, I'm like, ooh, I know the answer to this. And it's fun for me because it's like I'm doing a little worksheet while I'm watching. It's so fun for me to watch those videos. And I kind of am considering, I would like to do something like that on my channel where I answer questions about knitting. I couldn't answer questions about spinning because I'm not good enough at that yet. And I probably couldn't answer questions about crochet either because I can crochet, but I'm not like a super knowledgeable knitter or crocheter the way that I feel like I am a super knowledgeable knitter, you know? But if you're at all interested in that, if you're at all interested in hearing questions about, like, why we do setup rows before a tubular bind off, because I know the answer. Google doesn't, I do. So, if you ever have craft questions like that, if you're at all interested in having me answer craft questions like that, let me know. And you can even like leave a question. If you have a question, you can even put one below, and I'll probably make a short video and answer them. So I don't expect I'll get more than one or two. But yeah, if you do have questions like that, please let me know, and I would be really happy to answer them in a video. I'd be happy to make a segment out of it. I think that's it. So again, thank you for watching. Like this video if you liked it. Leave a comment. The comments are my favorite part. I read them all, so leave a comment if you want to leave a comment. Do subscribe, and again, stay safe, stay dry, because all the crap that's going on right now. Keep yourself safe. Knit. Take your mind off of it. Yeah. That's it. So thank you for watching, and happy knitting. Bye-bye.